Before this episode starts, just be aware that this episode contains mentions of bullying, self-harm, and suicide. If you need support, the relevant resources are in the description below. Trigger warning aside, sit back, relax, and enjoy the first episode of the Kent and Medway Children and Younger People's Mental Health Podcast.
Should I just introduce myself?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ollie.
I'm Toby.
Hi, my name is Marley, and welcome to the CAMS Mental Health Podcast from Kent and Medway, CYP, MHS.
Nice, that was really good. Well done. I guess it'd be good to explain a bit what CYP MHS means, because it's a bit of a mouthful. So
I don't know what that means.
Good. So that stands for the Children and Young People's Mental Health Service for the NHS. So, and also, hello, I'm Roxanne. I'm one of the clinicians that works in the Maidstone CAMS service, and with me...
I'm Isaac. I'm one of the mental health nurses for the South Kent team.
There you go.
Okay, good to know. So, why a podcast?
Good question.
It is a good question.
I mean, podcasts are just like very easy to listen to, like when you're doing chores around the house, or I listen to them to get to sleep, which this one might not be the best for, but yeah.
I mean, I definitely think there's an overwhelming rise of popularity in podcasts.
Yes,
Some,
absolutely.
Some not very good, and some amazing. My personal favourite is Magnus Archives.
Next to this one, of course. Yeah, I agree. I do think they've become really popular, and personally, I listen to them all the way to work. I live quite far from my work, so I listen all the journey there. So this will be on the playlist.
Yeah. So, what kind of podcasts do you listen to?
Oh, okay. So I listen to a lot of true crime.
No shame in that. No shame in that.
Yeah, and a bit of self-help as well. So I like to listen to mindfulness podcasts, things with tips and tricks on how to keep calm when struggling with a bit of anxiety. Cool. Why the podcast?
I think starting a podcast, especially in terms of mental health, I think it will help to, because we're young people, right? I think it would help to sort of like help other people to relate to maybe like what we're saying, and maybe like sort of like give us a voice, you know, sort of like talk about the things we've experienced at CAMS. As well as how we feel, and talking about our experiences.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, and I revel in the fact that you've just said because we're all young, Isaac. So I'll take that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's something. So I guess we should say a bit about who we are as a group. We're a participation group, and you guys have all volunteered for this as young people from CAMS. You've come up with this idea of creating a podcast to help other young people, and I think, honestly, I take my hat off to you. I don't have a hat. I'll buy a hat, and then I'll take it off to you.
If you bought a hat, what kind of hat would it be?
A fedora.
Fedora. Classy.
Pink, though.
Pink fedora.
Yeah.
It's very classy. Yes.
But yeah, so I do think that that's a really good place to start, is that actually this has come from young people that have used the service or know of the service or have struggled in the past.
Yeah. Some of us are participation representatives as well. I know, well, I'm not currently yet, but I am currently in the process of becoming a participation representative, which I'm very excited about because I do care for other young people and I do care for this service. So,
Can you tell us a bit more about what that means? What is a participation representative?
So it's a lot of things, but basically my job is quality assurance, and it's also sort of like a mix of quality assurance, helping with planning activities, helping to give training, onboard new employees, presenting at various recruitment events.
That's so cool. What about you guys? What were you thinking? Are you participation... What was it called? Representative. I keep wanting to go champion. But
yeah, participation representative.
Representatives.
I'm in the process of becoming one, but my excellent ability to respond to emails is coming into play, and I keep on forgetting to respond to them. So
yes, yeah. Same. I just have so much. Either I have so much going on, or I'm just.
For anyone that doesn't know what that was, that was a tongue-out raspberry blow. And I guess what's the thing you're looking forward to most about being a participation representative?
I think like actually feeling like I'm making a difference about something, because I have used CAMS, and I've known people that have used CAMS, and I just want to make it the best service like that I possibly can for any young people that need it in the future.
Yeah, I think I would like to become a participation representative because I just love helping people in general. I just want other people to be the best that they can. I just want other people to flourish, you know. That's kind of the whole thing, really.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a good quality to have in this day of age.
Yeah, definitely. Toby, any thoughts from you?
I'm not a participation representative. I've just kind of, my therapist kind of brought this to my attention and I volunteered for it, and then Solomon contacted me.
Same. I did participation back in 2023. Unfortunately, there was a lot going on in my life and I just wasn't able to follow through with anything. But I'm glad, because my therapist actually also made me aware that, you know, there was this going on and, you know, if you want me to get you back in contact with so-and-so, like, I can definitely do that. And I was like, great. And then I just ended up talking through emails and, you know, I did the Teams call and now I'm here.
And we are so grateful.
I found out about this yesterday.
So fully prepared then, Toby.
Yeah.
How did you find out about it though? That's the question.
He messaged my mum.
Oh.
And by he, we're talking about Solomon. The
Solomon.
participation. No, you haven't.
So yes, I'm also here, and my name is Solomon, and I'm the participation worker for CAMS and Kent and Medway.
Woohoo. No, that's great. I think that's really good to have a bit of an introduction to everyone. I guess back to the task at hand, what are some of the things we think we're going to discuss today then?
I think that we were going to discuss group therapy.
Yeah. Group therapy, sort of like expectations. Yeah, expectations and like, you know, experiences of group therapy. Has anyone ever really been to group therapy?
Yeah. I've had it multiple times.
Yeah, I've been to group therapy. I've only been to group DBT, but...
Yeah, I did group DBT. That was my latest one. I've done it 4 times. Not DBT, just 4 times of group therapy.
Okay. So I guess if we can slow it down a little bit, because I think that actually some of the things we said, maybe we don't know what they mean. So what you're saying is really valid and important. So I guess DBT. What does DBT mean?
DBT stands for Dialectical Behaviour Therapy. Yes. It basically means learning how to... It's a lot of things, basically. A lot of it is around emotional regulation. It's commonly used to treat people with emotional dysregulation, borderline personality disorder, which is something that I do have and struggle with, but I did it a couple of years ago. I was in a group and, you know, we did like a lot of weekly activities sort of like focused on emotional well-being. We did something called TIP, which is basically things like temperature. I can't remember the rest.
Increased pulse?
Yeah. Increased pulse.
Intense exercise and increased pulse,
it was quite constructive. You know, I did get to interact with other young people. I will admit I was probably the youngest in the group as far as I remember, which was a little bit, it just felt a little bit weird, but other than that, it worked for me. Now I know sort of like how to ride the wave, which is another big part of dialectical behavioural therapy.
Yeah, it's learning that 2 things can be true at once.
Yeah.
Your life can suck, but
also want it to be better.
There is light at the end of the tunnel.
So when we're talking about group therapy, have you all been engaged in DBT group therapy, or has there been other?
I've mainly done CBT and anxiety group therapy, and I haven't actually done DBT before.
Okay, and for the listeners out there, what's CBT stand for? Do you remember?
Cognitive
behavioural therapy. And I think I've done that either once or twice. I can't remember.
Okay.
Great memory.
I've done CBT group therapy before.
I've only done DBT.
I'll be honest, I find DBT, it was more helpful than CBT.
Yeah.
I didn't get on a lot with CBT, which is an issue because I've got to write an essay on how it's positive for psychology.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chat GPT? Joking. I'm joking.
Absolutely
I'm not
not.
endorsing.
Don't use AI.
Not.
Don't use AI. AI is bad.
I'm only joking.
I fully hate AI so much.
Same.
I guess, thinking about CAMS as a service and the sort of types of group therapy that's offered. So with cognitive behavioural therapy being one of them, and that being used primarily for anxiety or low mood, and I guess the group-wise, it's mainly around anxiety groups. That's that's offered for. But actually, dialectical behaviour therapy is the third wave of CBT as well. I wasn't sure if you knew that. So
I didn't.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is it's developed from cognitive behavioural therapy to become dialectical behaviour therapy. And like you were saying, actually, that it is slightly different, and it's more around emotional regulation, distress tolerance, mindfulness, and sort of grounding it in the moment for DBT. So yeah, there's different parts of each one. But it's really interesting that you've all had different journeys with therapy.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you had one-to-one therapy as well? I know that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I have had one-to-one therapy ever since I started. I first came involved with the service, which was like 2021. I had, I think, one therapist, and that left, and then I've had one other therapist that I've had ever since. He is a superstar. I love him.
Yeah, I have a one-to-one therapist who I absolutely adore. She is amazing.
I've had one-to-one therapy twice, but currently I'm not in one-to-one therapy. I have a key worker instead. I have weekly meetings with, which is similar, but they aren't like specifically trained as far as I'm aware.
And are you currently in, so this is a question for the three of you, in group therapy as well, or have you finished with your group, your latest?
I just finished my DBT group therapy in April, which was 14 weeks.
Wow, that's a big commitment.
Yeah,
well done.
it started January and finished around April time, I think.
Because usually with DBT you get the one-to-one alongside, right? So you have the group once a week. Is that right? The group's once a week, and then the one-to-one is once a week as well alongside that.
I think with me, I finished DBT in May 2023.
Okay.
So it's been a while. Not sure if I'll be able to recall everything all in one place, but I think mine was 14 weeks as well.
Yeah, DBT is usually 14 weeks. It goes consecutively, so week after week, apart from if there's a half term, right? You have that as a break.
Yeah, I had a 2-week break, I think.
Whoa.
And there were also 2 parent sessions.
Yes.
One at the beginning and one middle-ish kind of end.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part, actually, of the group therapy, is that there's also a parent session that goes alongside for dialectical behaviour therapy. And I think we should definitely touch on that in a little bit as well. What about yourself, Ollie? Are you still in the group intervention?
I think mine also finished around April or May. That was the anxiety one. That's the one that I've been most recently involved in. Okay. So, yeah, not currently in any.
Can you recall how many weeks that was? Was it around 14 weeks or a bit shorter?
I think mine was around 8 weeks, but we had a break in the middle as well. So I think it was 8 weeks with 2 one-to-one sessions on either side.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So I guess, big question, when you first, so thinking back to the first time you ever had group therapy, what were your initial thoughts? And we can be honest here, what were your initial thoughts when you were told about group therapy?
Oh, I was petrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified.
Can you talk a bit more about that? What do you think was worrying you?
So my first kind of group therapy, which was CBT, I had recently just come out as trans. Yeah. And I was in quite a bad place and everything was really scary. And all I'd kind of seen online is like the statistics of trans people getting hate crimed. And as like an 11-year-old child, it's actually scared me, and I was so scared that I was going to be the only trans person there or the only queer person, and like everyone was going to hate me, and it terrified me.
That sounds really tough, Toby. I guess that makes sense then, that you were thinking about the other people that were going to be attending and how you would be looked at, or how people were going to treat you going there. Okay. Did anyone else have any thoughts before there?
I thought when I was first introduced to DBT that we were all going to have to sit in a circle, hold our hands and
sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, but instead of singing Kumbaya is just talking about trauma. But it wasn't. It was not like that at all.
It wasn't mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so different experiences.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the beauty of it, really. Yeah. Just sort of like everyone with all their different stories and experiences of life just sort of coming together here today to sort of talk about it.
So I guess what you're saying is that, like, at the beginning there was a bit of a fear that it would be a bit out there and a bit exposing, and that you'd have to all be holding hands and talking about your trauma and a bit exposing. You're a bit fearful about that.
Yeah, it kind of was like that. Sort of like 50-50, you know, it was, half of it was learning about different exercises, and the other half of it was just people talking about stuff, really.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Ollie? How are you feeling the first time you thought,
For me, I very much thought it was going to be a mix of Alcoholics Anonymous and a police interrogation scene from like a 1950s cop show.
Yeah, okay.
Which it wasn't like that. It probably would have been less awkward if it was. But it was a lot nicer experience than I was expecting, and not nearly as terrifying.
I guess thank you all for sharing. And I guess what I was just thinking then, Ollie, when you were talking, was thinking about why do we think that we had these sort of preconceived ideas about what group therapy is? Because you just said about, I thought it was going to be like a 1950s cop movie kind of vibe. And I wonder, why do you think you had these preconceived ideas?
For me, it was because I find that therapy is quite often negatively represented in media. So if anyone's watched Umbrella Academy, in the second season, Diego does group therapy, and that, obviously it's like set in a different time, but that was kind of what I expected, and it was not a great.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, actually, is just sort of like the misrepresentation of therapy and sort of like mental health treatment in media. I feel like that's a pretty big sort of fuel to the fire of what basically causes that sort of nervousness among young people that are just whether they're starting therapy for the first time, or they're, starting a new kind of therapy, or they're just going in for their next session, I feel like it is a big sort of hurdle.
Yeah, it's hit or miss in media.
Yeah.
You either get an incredible, heart-wrenching piece of media that depicts what it is like as a young person in the mental health services, or it's an absolute wash of a, like, whatever it is, film, TV, whatever, and it either takes the complete mick out of mental health services and people who need help, or it completely demonises it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you watch the bad side, it's one or the other. Yeah. It's either completely taking the mick out of or demonising it.
I completely agree. And I think actually, I know we're talking specifically about group therapy, but therapy in general, it can set up some really difficult kind of expectations for young people of what to expect when accessing. And I think sometimes, I don't know if you agree, but it can almost put a barrier in place to people accessing, especially young people, accessing mental health services. And as we were talking about, the sort of conceived ideas about group therapy being a 50s cop show or holding hands, I guess something I've heard before, and I guess it comes down to sort of films and stuff, is this idea of a client or a young person or an adult, whoever it is, accessing therapy, laying on a sofa and someone sitting behind with the notepad saying...
Freud's psychodynamic theory.
kind of like the opening to Laura Hasn't Slept. I don't know if you've seen Smile, but there was a short film. I actually studied it for my latest project in games design. Before Smile, there was a short movie called Laura Hasn't Slept, and that was essentially, we had like Laura like lying on the sofa, talking about like her nightmares to the therapist, who then turns into a big evil monster and like
as we all are. No, I agree. So I guess if you were having these sort of ideas about this group therapy thing does not sound like my kind of thing, what helped you to then go, okay, I'll give it a go?
So my previous times before DBT this year, they were all pretty rough. It was so awkward. In one of them, there was someone from my school in my year group that I knew who hated me. And so I just didn't say anything because I knew that she'd just go back to her friends. And then other times, just other people didn't talk and it was really awkward. But the DBT that I just went into, I was angry about going into it because I was just expecting it to be the same. I probably wouldn't get much out of it because I just wouldn't say anything because... people were just like really awkward and quiet, and then I don't want to be the one to speak up.
Yeah, that first one to speak is scary, right?
But my therapist did convince me because she was actually one of the practitioners in there.
Okay, yeah.
So that reassured me. But actually, that group has changed my perspective on group therapy because it was amazing, the people in there. I
wonder, I mean, that's really helpful, isn't it, that your therapist is actually was one of the facilitators of the group. I wonder, Toby, if they weren't the facilitator of that group, and you hadn't had that relationship that you'd built with them, would there be anything that would have helped to get to a group?
I would have still gone because, like, I would have tried anything.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that I did go, because during the breaks we'd all go sit out there and we'd sit in a circle and we've got each other's numbers and
Nice.
Snapchats, and
So you made a bit of a community from it. That's really lovely.
because they are just people who experience the same thing.
Yeah.
I wonder, Ollie, what about you? Did you have anything in particular that helped you to access?
My practitioner with CAMS was also one of the leaders of the anxiety group therapy that I did. So that helped because I knew that there was someone that I knew and that I would be able to talk to if I had an issue with. But I generally, like, I struggle saying no to things. So I would have said yes anyway, and then, like, just sat in the back of the room absolutely wishing for it to be over. But I think just, like, I don't know, just like the want to feel better and the willingness to really try anything probably made a big difference.
He said yes very enthusiastically then.
Yes.
Did you want to add something?
I think for me, in terms of sort of like what helped me to really get into the groove of DBT, I think it was also that willingness of just wanting to get better, because, you know, what was happening in my life was really, like, it was really affecting me at the time, and, you know, all I wanted at that point was just to get better. So despite that kind of worry of having to sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya, didn't actually happen, by the way. I think it was just that willingness to get better.
Yeah, that motivation is a real big thing. And something you were all just saying there about this motivation and what made you want to do it, I think it's worth noting that we are a consent-based service, and what that means is any young person that comes through to us for any kind of therapeutic intervention, be it group or one-to-one or however that looks, it's actually all based on whether you want to engage with that. Because actually, if evidence shows us that if anyone, let alone being a young person, an adult, however that looks, anyone that engages into something they don't really want to do, especially therapeutic intervention, its success rate isn't high at all. I don't know the exact figure on the research, but there is so much out there, and maybe at the end of this we can have a little bit of a look and put something in for a bit of evidence in case anyone's interested, which I'm sure you're not. But yeah, so actually it's a big thing about having a motivation and a want to change, because if you say no, I don't want to do it, you don't have to. It's just there if you want to do it.
That was something my therapist said to the whole group, actually. It's like there's no shame in not wanting to get better right now. You're here, but it's not like if you're not ready for DBT, then DBT's not going to be. DBT's not like ready for you yet.
Yeah, it's not going to do its DBT thing.
Because you kind of need to put in the effort with DBT.
Yeah. And I think that's quite similar for CBT as well, isn't there? Because I know they do some behaviour activation and things like that. So it's you need to do it outside of the space.
You need to actively work on trying to change like your thoughts and all that. Well, not trying to change your thoughts, but recognising why they are not constructive and how they're affecting you. And if you're not putting the effort in to do that, then it's going to be very hard to make any progress.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm honestly inspired and in awe of all three of you, because you've done it. You've done that process, and it sounds like it's been a bit of a struggle for you guys over the years. And multiple groups have been accessed, and actually, regardless of your previous experience, you've gone for it and you've done it again, and you've tried something new, and that's testament to the three of you and how much you want things to be better and feel a bit better. I guess if we were to think about logistics of groups, and what I mean by that is, I guess we could start with DBT, so Dialectical Behaviour Therapy. So you were saying it's 14 weeks, it's once a week? With a one-to-one on the side?
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't remember. I think I did have a one-to-one on the side because, you know, obviously, you know, my therapist wouldn't just stop seeing me as soon as I started DBT. I think I did have one-to-one during the DBT process, which it was sort of like in the middle of it.
Okay, like a check-in one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were the groups when you were there?
So mine were meant to be 2 hours, but everyone in the group was neurodiverse and we just couldn't handle 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we'd do 45 minutes, have a 5-minute break, and then do another 45 minutes. So it was just an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah. And how did you sort of agree with that? Is that something that the clinician came up with, or did you all come up with that?
So we had 3 clinicians in our group. And they were just kind of like, everyone in here has some form of neurodiversity, and we're just going to see how it goes. And we were all just getting really antsy by the hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, I think the half an hour doesn't need to be in it. And we did everything that we needed to.
Yeah.
So
How did it feel that they recognised that?
quite nice.
Yeah.
Because before it was just, I was undiagnosed as neurodiverse, so I didn't get that support before. So in other group therapies that were like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I just was not managing it.
Yeah.
And people were getting annoyed at me because I was getting fidgety and wanting to pace around, and so it was quite nice to have that recognised.
Yeah, and I guess just to pause there for a minute, I guess we're talking about neurodiversity, and so I don't know if anyone wants to jump in about what neurodiversity is and what it covers.
Neurodiversity is essentially like any form of, it's just like it's a spectrum in itself, but it's also sort of like things like anxiety, like I'm not really sure.
The very
Thanks for having a go. I think that was really brave.
Typical ones that people know would be autism and ADHD.
Yes.
That is your most common bog standard that most people know about that.
And I guess where you were going with that is autism is a spectrum. So
Yes.
you're right there. And that is a diagnosis of a neurodiversity is, well, we're all neurodiverse, but neurodivergence, we have ADHD and autism that can be diagnosed from that. Cool. So I think that sums that bit up. So there should be 2 hours, you were saying, Toby, but they were sort of
they were cut
adjusted.
down to an hour and 35.
Yes, with the 5-minute break in the end.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Anyone else's experiences? So I know that you said you had DBT as well.
I did, and man, it's been so long. I think mine was about 2 hours in length.
Okay.
So I think we did like an hour or like 45 minutes, and then we had like a break, and then we would just continue until the end.
Yeah. And how did you find it?
I think I didn't really mind it. You know, it's DBT. You know, it wasn't really something that affected me that much. You know, I just knew that I was there, really.
Yeah. And not wanting to forget CBT as well, but I just wanted to touch base again with you both about the DBT groups. How many people were in your group?
So they were small-sized groups, including me. It was me, them, 5.
So 5 young people and 3 clinicians.
Yeah.
Okay. And did that feel manageable?
Yeah. So actually, everyone in the group had their clinician with them.
Oh, wow.
So we had pre-one-to-ones.
Yeah.
So then the clinicians were giving one-to-ones to all of us throughout the DBT course. Yeah. So the homework they gave us, it wouldn't just be handed off to another random clinician who wouldn't really be in the groups.
Yeah.
So that was quite handy for everyone. And we also got snacks, so they were positively reinforcing us to come.
I was going to bring up the snack situation because I've heard that DBT group is probably the best group for snacks.
Yeah, at the end of it, my therapist baked a chocolate cake.
No, mine did as well.
Where's our chocolate cake today?
My DBT group did that as well back in 2023. Well, I think by that point, a lot of people had left. I think mine was originally the same. It was about 5 people and 3 clinicians.
Yeah.
And
it started off with 6 people, only 1 person left.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which apparently is pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the opposite for me. I think a big chunk of people left. You know, we had a lot of people, and then like a lot of them just ended up leaving. One of them got moved to one-to-ones because they had an argument with me. They actually I'll touch on that later.
Okay, yeah, because I'd like to know how that was dealt with actually, and how that made you feel. So, Ollie, coming over to you about the CBT groups. What was the sort of structure of those?
I had my CBT through my school, so my experience is probably different than people who have had CBT therapy outside of school. But for me, my sessions were an hour long, and I think I had around 10 of them.
Okay.
And there were around 6 of us, I want to say.
Yeah.
But it was again the thing of a lot of people left, and I think some people, it was just because they stopped coming to school or they didn't like the group, which is fair enough. You shouldn't continue to go to something that isn't working for you and won't work for you.
I think that's a really important thing to say.
Don't like feel pressured to stay just because it's therapy and it's supposed to help you. If it's not helping you, then. But the snack situation for my CBT group was quite good as well. We got Skittles a lot, like the squashy Skittles. That is hard to say.
I love Skittles.
Yeah.
Skittles are amazing.
Yes, especially I'm autistic. I haven't been diagnosed with it yet, but essentially, like, a lot of clinicians do agree that I am on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
I think when I went to London to get diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, they also pointed out to my dad that I think that I did have autistic behaviours. They sent through the papers to get it done, but due to certain circumstances they didn't get done. I think there was one set of papers from my school that was signed and that was done by like somebody at my school, I think around the first time. But it was actually not a very nice teacher, and they sort of like made me seem like very self-centered, very very spiteful. It was quite mean-spirited, So that's why we never sent them out. But I think they sent them out again, but they got lost. So, I don't know where that is, probably somewhere very far over the rainbow, way up high.
In the abyss.
Yes. But going back to, sort of, what were we talking about again? I
think we were talking about The Sims. No, I'm joking.
No.
All good? Everyone hear me clearly?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Right. So I know we were talking a little bit about kind of individual experiences of the group and kind of the differences kind of between your different experiences of groups, and I guess we kind of wanted to, I guess it'd be interesting to really hear from you guys about actually how your kind of experiences of group differed kind of between, say, like the CBT and the DBT group, and why those experiences were different really for you, if anybody kind of had any thoughts about that.
For me personally, the CBT groups, the people there, it was a lot smaller groups. It was like 2 and 3, which I personally don't think work very well. I was quite happy with the group of 5. That I think was like the perfect group, like, because then it's not really reliant on 1 or 2 people. Like everyone is kind of there, but everyone then still gets the amount of support because there were 3 clinicians. So that's something that I preferred in DBT compared to CBT. And also, I just didn't know anyone in DBT. Because I knew a person in one of the CBT tries, which made it very awkward.
Yeah, I imagine that. Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it, when you kind of got that personal relationship there, and kind of opening up about some really personal things going on for you. It can be really, really tricky. What about kind of from your perspective, Ollie, in terms of, I know you said before with your CBT group, it kind of actually, the size of that reduced a little bit. Did you kind of find that the dynamic of the group changed with that at all? Like in terms of, was that helpful?
I mean, for me, in that CBT group, I was very much the one that was constantly talking and being very loud. So for me, it didn't really change because I was still engaging with the therapy. So I guess I didn't feel more pressure than I already did. But I think, like, in general, I think it's better to have a bigger group. So obviously not like too big. I think 5 is a very good size. But just so that pressure isn't all on that one person to talk and be loud, so there isn't just that awkward silence when someone asks a question.
No, that's fair enough. Molly, what about kind of from your perspective in terms of like group size, like an engagement with the group?
I think my group was about 5-6 people. I was the person that was always crying because 2023 was an awful time for me, but a lot of people, it was just sort of a lot of talking, a lot of joking. It was kind of awkward, I'd say, because a lot of people were sort of like complaining about how I didn't help them and about how a lot of people were very, it was just sort of like very resistant to it, they just didn't really feel like they were ready for it, so a lot of people dropped out.
Okay.
You know, I think it was majority of the people. I think only 2 of us stayed, which was including me, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So we know 2 or 3 people. You know, somewhere around that mark. But yeah, it was awkward. You know, it was kind of tense sometimes. You know, the atmosphere was very tense.
So, I guess in my kind of strange thought process, I guess I wanted to kind of a kind of bridge a question to all of you. So I know in the break we were kind of having a brief conversation about actually information around when groups were kind of suggested as an intervention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess I just kind of wanted to know what your guys' experience of that really was in terms of actually getting information prior to starting a group, really, and how that was.
So my latest one, DBT, it came after a back-to-back suicide attempt.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in a very bad place, and I was in hospital for a bit, and after I was discharged, I had IHT coming out, weekly therapy sessions, a lot of support and all that, and now I'm getting a CETR and so many acronyms.
Yeah, sure. There are many, aren't there?
After those back-to-back attempts, that's when I met my current therapist.
Okay.
And we spoke for a bit, and she started talking about DBT, and coincidentally there was a group starting in January.
Yeah.
And she suggested it to me, and because it was quite like a short notice kind of thing, I don't think I would have gone into it without my therapist being in there because of the situation of what had happened, and it felt easier than trying to almost explain everything all again, so I could kind of like just talk about it with her. It just made sense to me. And DBT has been helpful. I'm getting some more support, and now I'm being suggested for EMDR.
Yes. I'm doing EMDR currently.
So that's how I got started in DBT, and the other times has been after periods of self-harm, big anxiety events, low mood, etc.
So I guess for you actually it was having that familiar face, someone that kind of, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but almost knew your story in a way, and actually everything you've been through.
It gets annoying after a period of time having to explain the story over and over again to different people. So just having that person who actually did know was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that can be really, really, really helpful, and actually I think that's something we, speaking from the perspective of a clinician, we're always really mindful of, actually, the patients we work with actually repeating the stories and their stories in terms of their experiences and, you know, some of those challenges they've been through in their life. You know, certainly there is work going on in the background to streamline that process. So actually we're not asking you to constantly relive those sometimes really difficult times in your life. And certainly it's something we're aware of. Okay. So Ollie, for you, kind of prior to kind of starting the CBT group, how was that, you know, in that terms of kind of that, I guess, information about the group and what it was and what it was about, and how was that for you?
I got into specifically the anxiety group therapy, which is the one that I had with CAMS. I got into that, I believe, through a waitlist I was put on after a couple of incidents with self-harm.
Okay.
And I got recommended for the group, basically, and I did have a meeting about it beforehand, but I have a tendency to not ask questions. It's not even like I don't want to be a bother, which I don't, but my mind just goes completely blank whenever I'm asked something. So I just didn't ask any of the questions that would probably have been really helpful for me to know. And I probably didn't get the information that I needed to feel safe and confident going to group therapy.
So with the kind of benefit of hindsight, I guess, what kind of questions do you think would have been really helpful for you to ask at the time?
I think knowing more about the type of work that we were going to do actually in the group therapy, because a lot of it was actually psychoeducation and learning how to deal with things. And I think that would have been helpful for me to know, so that I had a better expectation of what I was doing.
That's really interesting, that kind of idea of expectation of
Yeah.
what the group is about. And okay.
And also knowing what was okay for me to like bring. So for example, I tend to bring a water bottle with me just so that I have something to do. Or like a pen so that I can draw on my hand, and knowing what would be okay for me to bring, because obviously it's going to be a very rare occasion when people are like, you can't bring sensory toys, or you can't bring this, or you can't bring that. Obviously if it's dangerous, then
absolutely.
that is probably not ideal to bring, but I think asking whether I was allowed to bring in my safety items beforehand would have been very useful just for my peace of mind.
Okay.
Because, well, stuff like a water bottle and a pen will normally be allowed. It's one of those things like I don't want to be bringing in something that I'm then told off for bringing in. Yeah,
and I suppose it's like thinking about those things that are going to maybe already make you more anxious about a situation you're already anxious about, you know, and it okay, so that's really helpful to know, actually, in terms of some of that information that we can include out to groups, to young people that are invited to those. Okay, Marley, what about you? How was your experience kind of in that kind of lead up to starting the group?
I think basically the process of sort of like getting suggested DBT was essentially like a plan. It was essentially like sort of like a road or path of treatment for me. I think the first step was DBT. So basically what happened is that me and my dad, we were invited to come to a meeting quite late in the afternoon, and you know, we just like talked to a couple of clinicians. I think my therapist was there, I'm not sure, but it was a couple of people I didn't recognise, but it was, for me, you know, they sort of like said, you know, we think this would be really good for you, you know, we think that this would be beneficial to you in a lot of ways, and you know, we want to know if you would like to try it. And you know, me being the person that I am, that is desperate, that would do anything to get better, of course I willingly accepted. And what they did is they gave us a book that had a lot of information about DBT, a lot of like illustrations and like little doodles as well. Sort of like it was very informational. I think that was the main textbook that, you know, you usually do DBT work in, but eventually for me, that and my DBT group, that ended up being, you know, just like sheets from the book, but
Okay, so do you, I suppose in a sense, kind of having that big information pack, that pack you kind of work throughout the group, was that helpful, or do you think something maybe a little less, I guess, kind of word heavy, almost information heavy, something a bit more, almost like an overview of the group and kind of general information, do you think that would be more helpful, or did you find that more of that information helpful?
I feel like it being less sort of like word heavy or would be helpful to other people. I feel like I didn't mind it for me, but I feel like for other people it would be a little bit helpful, especially for people with different kinds of neurodivergencies or sort of like people with like low attention spans. I feel like that would be kind of like beneficial in sort of like understanding. But it did help me to understand sort of like what I was getting into. Okay.
And I guess moving on from that kind of topic there, the thing I'm thinking of...
I was just going to jump off of Marley's point.
Yeah,
because
sorry.
we had the same booklet.
Yeah.
I got to take one home, and then we had one in here to do. And I found that the taking one home helped me and my parents.
Okay.
So I could see what the next session was going to be and kind of prepare.
Yes, okay.
But also it helped my parents because obviously they'd never had like this interaction before where they had the parent groups and a booklet. So they felt that they could support me more. Because they actually had like the whole tip, dear man, soothe, all of those, and like the I never remember the name, but it's like the emotional regulation thing where you've got the triggering event, how that made you feel. I think that's the chain analysis.
Okay, so that was helpful for you and for your parents as well, which is obviously another really important factor to, I guess, take into consideration, actually, isn't it, about kind of those parent carers kind of support networks around us and for young people and their understanding of that intervention you're kind of having. A thought that kind of popped into my mind was, for you guys, prior to the group, did you kind of feel like as if you had a good understanding of why you were being offered the group?
I think for me it was because at the time I had my first sort of diagnosis of emerging emotionally unstable personality disorder, which is it's a fancy word for borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
But it was basically like emerging is basically for like young people.
Yeah, because they don't diagnose under 18.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So, but I think that's kind of why, and also because I'd sort of like showed signs of like emotional instability during things in like therapy and appointments and stuff.
Yep.
So I think that was why.
Okay. And what about kind of for you, Toby? Did you kind of understand?
Yeah. It made quite a lot of sense for me. Because I had the crisis worker who came in and they spoke about different kind of therapies that I've had, and then they kind of referred me back to here.
Okay.
And then that's when I got my therapist and into DBT. So that for me was pretty clear. Okay.
I know you briefly mentioned a service called IHT.
Yeah.
We won't speak on it too much, but I guess I wondered just from kind of your experience how that kind of who IHT are and
so I'm currently still under them.
Okay.
I was under them in the winter time, and then I've been back under them for about 2-3 months now.
Yep.
So they are the intensive home treatment team.
Yep.
And they can come out every day, every other day, which is what I have.
Yep.
They can do phone calls as well, and they come to your house. I've had them at my school as well, and they basically just check on you, see if you're all right.
Yep.
I've also done a bit of just touched on EMDR with them.
Yep.
And my HCP, which is my healthcare professional, brings me crochet to do, which is very fun. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I never got into crochet, but because I started out with art therapy, I think recently in my weekly therapy sessions with my therapist, who is a complex pathway therapist, which means that they're a therapist that is specifically trained to work with patients that have maybe gone through multiple traumas or have a lot of different sort of issues that are happening in their life. He has actually started bringing in a sketchbook, like a little black mini sketchbook for me to draw in, and he's brought sketching pencils and oil pastels and pens and pencils. Yeah.
Nice.
I just wanted to jump in and say Toby is the acronym god right here. I am so impressed with the HCPs and the IHTs.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we can make a song out of it.
I mean, I also do psychology as an A-level.
Okay.
So it's like when we were talking about CBT, I just kind of wanted to chime in because I've just done the whole history of CBT, like Beck and Ellis and the triad and then the ABC.
Right, so I think obviously we've kind of come to the end of today's session. I first just wanted to say kind of thank you on behalf of kind of NELF clinicians really of kind of coming in and kind of talking about your experiences. We find it really, really helpful actually to hear you being honest, and actually we are aware that things don't always go well, and sometimes things do go well, and we need to know both. So actually, I'm speaking on behalf of all my colleagues and saying thank you for that.
Of course, yeah.
I think it would be really helpful to kind of just kind of get summarised really and kind of just get some closing thoughts from you guys really about today's session and how you felt that's kind of been, and kind of if there's anything else you wanted to add, any kind of final messages you kind of wanted to give anyone that's listening. And
I would say that with group therapy, well, any therapy really, you've got to try. You've kind of got to put the work in. It's not just about talking and that's going to help everything. It may help some, but it may not help with everything. And with group therapy, it's very intense, and it's okay if you need to drop out.
Yep.
Because if you're not in the right place for it, then it's just going to be a horrible experience.
Yeah.
So there's no shame in not being able to do it then, but maybe down the line, if you're in a place where group therapy may be more appropriate for you, then I'd say give it a try.
Yeah, I think that's a very key thing. It's because there's a right time and a wrong time for DBT, and you know, if you want to do DBT, there is definitely a right time. Like, it's probably not a really good idea to do it while you are in the midst of going through a traumatic event, or like maybe like a stressful event, like moving house, or like something just happened and you're like, oh, I don't really think that it's a good idea. You know, there is a right time. There's a right time for everything, and I think that right time is especially important in DBT.
Absolutely, and I suppose Ollie kind of coming in almost as our CBT representative here. You know, have you kind of got any closing thoughts or kind of messages for maybe young people that maybe have been offered a CBT intervention, whether that be maybe one-to-one or a group therapy? Have you kind of got any thoughts or kind of, I guess, advice that might be helpful for them?
I think it is, again, that like willingness to try and willingness to be involved within the group therapy. Obviously, you don't have to be like talking everyone's ear off during it, but I think it's that willingness to put in the effort again that you need to have when you do CBT, because it's a lot of exercise with like thoughts and trying to understand why you are feeling this way, and it's if you aren't ready to put that work in, then that's totally fine. But I think it's just, again, it's the willingness to. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, you know, you've all kind of really highlighted, actually, it's all down to the individual and actually what they feel ready for, and you know, it's about voicing what your needs are and how ready you feel. And I suppose from our professionals' perspective, it's ensuring that we're listening and hearing what you guys kind of needs are, and responding to that in the best way that we can. So awesome. All right, shall we wrap it up there? Yeah. Well done, guys. It's been a really good session. Obviously I want to say thank you to Sol for kind of getting all of this set up and doing all the logistics in the background and getting it all set up. You know, thank you to the managers for letting us have the building for this afternoon and kind of hosting us here. And obviously a big thank you to you guys as well for actually taking the time out of your days to come in and talk and talk about your experiences and just provide such, you know, valuable insight that no one else can provide other than yourself. So we really do appreciate that. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.